Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review for the last, at least at the moment, because I have a little bit of a weird thing to talk about in a little bit, maybe at the end of the video. Fear footage movie of the trilogy that is currently a trilogy. Possibly something else soon, I don't know. Anyway, Fear Footage 3 AM. This one is the third film, as the title is very obvious about. I don't own this one yet. I do plan on buying it. I enjoyed it a lot more this time around when I watched it, which surprised me. Even my ranking changed up from how I originally had it in my phone when I came back to watch this for this review. I have the first film here that I actually own, very cool with the evidence bag and all that. The second film comes with a black slip and a warning and everything about it being cursed and all that. And again, after I do this video, I will be doing a ranking video for all three of the movies. The first time I saw this, back when it came out last year in 2021, I don't know what that meant, 2021, excuse me. I remember myself and some other people I watched on YouTube, mainly Sinister Cinema Reviews, being kind of disappointed with this, because if you go from the first film being an anthology film, and the sequel's idea of saying, hey, kind of like Grave Encounters 2, saying, hey, that first movie is a movie, and this main character guy from Fear Footage 2 doesn't know how he's in that movie. Great idea. Something I've never seen done the way Fear Footage 2 did it. And the director/writer, Ricky Umberger, made all three of these, and clearly he's got skill as a director. And I do want to say this too. What really fascinates me is how every single time someone puts up a found footage review of the Fear Footage, of some kind of movie review of this series, this boy shows up in the comments. He showed up yesterday, and I thought that was pretty cool on my Fear Footage 1 review. Of course, I just uploaded 2 today. Here's 3, and here's the ranking video after this video. But Ricky Umberger, who runs his channel called The Fear Footage, which is his YouTube channel, he showed up in my comments for Fear Footage 1. You can go check it out yourself. And he teased the fact that there might be a new one next year, or some kind of spin-off or something like that, maybe something brand new, I don't know. He's kind of throwing hints there might be a Fear Footage 4 or some kind of new Ricky Umberger movie. I don't care if it's Fear Footage or not. I will watch it and I will love it and I will review it more than likely. I really love this franchise. I love found footage in general, and I don't mind low-budget guerrilla filmmaking when it's done right. And Ricky Umberger, again, he has the kind of directing skill, the kind of camera work skill, and the kind of editing chops that he can do something interesting with these movies. The first film is flawed, but it's really solid. I recommend it. I like it. The second film is better, probably the best of the franchise to this current point out of the trilogy that we have. And I think it's really good, really fun, really creepy. All three of the films have their really creepy moments, but the second film especially really gets under my skin. This film maintains this kind of new thing, but kind of an old thing, this throwback feeling of being lost. Basically, the story of Fear Footage 3 is about a young man who kind of is like a YouTuber online personality, I guess like myself, but probably a bigger channel. He does like, I guess, urban exploration, I can't say that word, like going out in the woods, finding abandoned buildings, that kind of thing. He's also a fan of the first 2 movies, as if they're both movies in his world. That's kind of cool. Again, it's kind of a play on what Fear Footage 2 did. So he is kind of going out to the locations to see if he can find any information at all, whether these 2 movies are real or not. He's kind of creeped out by it, but kind of just interested, kind of just excited to see what's going to happen with that. And he goes out to the locations. We get to see a lot of these. You ever seen some people on YouTube will go to like filming locations of like certain movies, like the Halloween franchise or something. They show the outside of the house and how it's changed all these years later. That's kind of what this guy is doing, and it's kind of cool seeing these sets from part 1 and part 2 shown in this movie, part 3, in like the daylight and stuff. Well, basically things go really wrong, and the movie gets weird. Now, mind you, this film is a little bit, there's not a whole lot happening in here compared to part 2, or even part 1. That one's more of an anthology, but still, compared to part 2 of just a straight-up found footage, let's figure out this mystery Scoob type of movie, it's not as engaging as part 2, and I hate to be critical like that with Ricky Umberger possibly watching this, but I do want to say that it is effective, and it's not just filled with jump scares. There's some tension in here that are kind of like in the very James Wan school of jump scares, where they earn themselves, and I really like that. The first time I saw this movie, again, like Sinister Cinema Reviews when he talked about it, I felt kind of underwhelmed. I feel like this was very much advertised by Ricky on different YouTube channels and stuff in the comment sections of my own videos back in the day on this channel before I rebooted it into just a straight up horror channel review. I reviewed this movie back then, and he was advertising this before it came out as the final Fear footage movie. And I was excited. It seemed like everybody who knew about these movies were excited. Found footage fans were excited. It wasn't a massive thing, but the people who were excited about this were very, very excited. Again, myself included. And I feel like a lot of people were let down by this one. And if you're looking for answers about this series and how weird it got, you're not getting answers here. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to tell you that out front. You get kind of one very whatever kind of answer towards the end, and that's really it. But most of it, like with Leo Cole, the police officer from the first film, whatever happened to him, whatever happened to the guy from Fear Footage 2, or the two guys from Fear Footage 2, you're not really getting a lot of answers. However, I like the fact that we have a lot of cameos from guys that have been in the previous movies. That's pretty cool. You also get, basically, you get tie-ins all the way back to Fear Footage 1, which was kind of cool. I kind of dug that. There's a lot of little tying up here and there, but no answers, and that's kind of the sad thing for it. As a fan of this franchise, as a fan of this series, trilogy, whatever you're looking at this to be, Ricky, as a fan of this, it could have been better. But does it make sense, guys, that I really liked this? I really enjoyed it a lot more this time around. I don't know if it's because of Ricky's comment getting me so stoked by the time I got around to watching this tonight and reviewing it. I'd already reviewed the first two movies before I saw his comment. But watching it this time really settled in. This is the second time I've seen it. And I rented it on Amazon Prime. And it really just, it hit me different this time. I don't really know why. Maybe I was sick or tired or sleepy or something the first time I watched it, but for me this time around, it really settled better, and I think I like this one better than part one. I don't know, those two kind of jump around in order for me, but I don't really know for sure. I am going to wait a little bit, about an hour, and then I'm going to do a ranking video for all of these to upload to you guys, and I'm hoping that people will watch that video. I hope more people find out about the Fear Footage franchise, because it's a little underrated. No matter what this film is like, no matter what part 1 is, with its flaws, and Fear 2 and Fear Footage 3 and all these movies have their flaws, but they're well made to be so low budget. They're like $5 movies made with your friends, and Ricky's directing style really brings them to life. I really mean that in the best possible way I can. Again, this one seems to me, it has the same problem part 1 has about having too many jump scares, but I do think most of them are earned. It's eerie, it has some great atmosphere, this feeling of getting lost in the woods over the course of 3 or 4 days, coming across the same places over and over again, even though it makes no sense how you came back to that place. And in the film's logic, it says, hey, I don't understand how I got stuck back here again. It's supposed to be like that, and it works. It works really well, in my opinion. There are some stalkings and some different things that are happening here. Whatever these things are from part 1 and part 2 that are still haunting this poor YouTube kid in this movie, that stuff is effective. It's very effective in my opinion. There are sound effects and whatever that kind of change on how good the quality is on that. Sometimes it's deliberately supposed to be whispering from far away. Sometimes it's just thrown right in your ears, into your skull, that you're going to hear it. And if you miss it, well, that's a shame. You're probably deaf. There's some really cool stuff here. This YouTube kid, he's not as engaging as the previous cast of characters, even from the original film, but he's not bad. You know, it's kind of, again, more of like an improv type of thing. Most of this movie is him walking around. He might encounter somebody and be like, hey, who are you? Hey, that's a lot of that. If that gets on your nerves, this film might bother you more than it bothered me. I kind of knew that going into it, so it didn't bother me or grate my nerves as bad this time, but it is there. It's a warning in case you haven't seen the movie. Again, the writing is not really here for characters. It's just kind of, I would be willing to bet the script is probably plot points, and that's about it. And then the friend here that's the main character is probably just making up things as it goes along. And that's fine. People can do that. Blair Witch did that, and it worked, you know? The look of the movie is a found footage style movie. It's fine. It's a basic camera, just like I'm filming this with, out in the dark, walking around, a light behind it, and that works. That works for what they're going for here. There are certain scenes, like the basically the building outside of the main house we kind of focus on in this movie. That's not the one from part 2 and part 3. That's here, or part 1 and part 2, I mean. That house is in here at one point for a very brief few minutes. But a lot of this is taking place in another house, and it's pretty eerie too, I'm not gonna lie. It's a massive house, by the way. I don't know where these guys found that, who owns it, it's furnished. I don't know. Really, really creepy stuff though. The look of the movie fits for this kind of movie, and it fits like the kind of camera style and everything a kid that's using YouTube would use. Even his introduction to the movie is really, really cool, with how it looks like a kid using green screen or blue screen or whatever behind him in a really low-budget YouTube video. Better than my wood paneling behind me. Moving along, there's no CGI in here. You can argue there are practical effects, but it's really just like costume type stuff, masks. You know, it's low budget. I expect it to be like that. That's fine. I don't have a problem. But it's really the effectiveness of the scares and whatever that really get to me. But sometimes they are ruined by the masks and whatever. I kind of wish that wasn't in this movie at all, you know? And that's kind of an issue I have with part 1. I didn't really bring it up there, but in that review I meant to bring it up, the fact that sometimes when you're confronted with whatever, chasing our main character here, you might have somebody just wearing a kind of silly Halloween mask from Spencer's or Spirit Halloween or something like that, and that's fine, whatever. You have a budget, I get it. And it looks better than makeup would, in the sense of like, you know, putting on some mascara and that kind of thing. It looks better than that would be. But still, I really like this flick. I think it's eerie, it's fun, and I enjoyed it a lot more this time around. Even though, like I said, there's kind of big portions of this movie, a good 20 minutes or so, that are just too slow, but for an hour and 10 minutes can I really complain? That flew by. That flew by when I watched it just now. Very rarely do I actually sit down and watch a movie that I've seen before straight through, because a lot of the time I've seen it either so many times or I'm not interested in watching it again, or I have my concerns, or I'm not very impressed, that when I sit down I have to break it up through parts. So for example, today I was watching Hellraiser Deader, and I divided it up to like 3 or 4 different time frames today where I watched like 25 minutes a piece because I just could not get through that hour-and-a-half long movie because of how rough it was. Anyway, that's a review coming up for the Hellraiser series. Hopefully you'll check that out as well. But for this movie, Fear Footage 3 AM is really solid. It's much better than I remember it being. And it's not to kiss up to Ricky if he's watching this video, it's just the fact that I guess I was kind of unfair with it originally because it's supposed to be the end of the trilogy and the end of the series at the time. It's kind of unfair for that, with the kind of answers we don't get, and that kind of bothered me a little bit. Not that I really think you could give answers to the kind of things that have happened in this franchise, but I just like it so much, and I think the fans out there like this so much, Ricky, that people wanted more. I'm sorry, people just wanted more. You did a good job with this. It's well made. For the most part, it's a very well-made thing that I really, really admire, and I wish more low-budget found footage or low-budget filmmakers in general would get a hint from what you're doing with these, especially from Fear Footage 2. There's a lesson to be learned about a lot of filmmaking aspects from this, and things that can be improved upon, for sure. But there are things people can learn from this. And again, if you're going to make another one, Ricky, I don't care if it's a spin-off, sequel, I don't care. If you're making another one, I will be there to see it, God willing if I'm alive. And I will be talking about it here on the channel because I'm super stoked about the series. I love the series. And I've had a good time over the last week rewatching these. They were something that I really loved before I got married. I found the first 2 movies. The third one came out while I was married last year, 2021. And it really kind of surprised me by how much these all clicked with me, because I'm a more recent fan of found footage movies in the last couple of years. I never really was into it because of Blair Witch and Cloverfield. It just didn't really impress me. But movies like these in this series, mainly the first 2, really got me into this franchise and really got me into found footage specifically because I saw what you could do. Even with no budget at all, you can do something really cool with it. Anyway, I do have another little partial story I do want to bring up. I meant to bring this up at the beginning of the video, but I kind of had a chill set into me a little bit. You know, there's the joke going on with Ricky and the, you know, when you get this pack here, like the second film, labeling on the box or on the bag, that you're cursed now if you watch this movie. Let me tell you something scary. My wife was in the living room. She was reading her book, her little romance books, while I watched this, but however, I put it in. Well, actually, I rented it, so I didn't put it in. I was thinking about Fear Footage too. I paused the movie after I rented it on Amazon Prime, and on the TV screen it had the first words that are written out for the movie when the movie starts up. And I had to go downstairs to do some laundry stuff real quick. Changed out some stuff, put a new load in, started the dryer and all that. And I came back up and my wife had this look on her face and she said, "Have you seen this movie before?" I said, "Yeah, I saw it, last year when we were living in our apartment or whatever." And she's like, got this look, like just kind of creeped out. And she's like, "Look at the date on the TV." And I look at it in the beginning of this movie, the date that it's talking about is referencing the kid in this movie, the YouTuber, going missing at some point on a particular day, and that this is a movie showing the footage that he had recorded. Now, what was that date? Mind you, that was September 19th, 2020. Guess what that is? That is my anniversary. That is the day, the exact day, September 19th of 2020. That was the day and the year and everything that I got married to my beautiful, wonderful wife, who was sitting right there. Now, the first time I watched this movie last year, I don't know how the hell I missed that. I don't know how I missed that, but it put a chill down my spine, and I couldn't shake it for a good 20 minutes at the beginning of this movie, and for whatever reason, it made the movie even more appealing to me. However, mind you, this is also the anniversary, not to the very day, but about 7 years apart, 5 years apart. My grandmother had passed away, the one I'd basically lived with my entire life. I got married on the anniversary of my grandmother passing away. And no joke, September 19th, 2020 is my actual wedding day. And seeing that this time, after I missed it before, it made me wonder. My wife asked the same exact question I was thinking about before, after she brought this up to me. She asked me, number one, if I'd ever noticed it, which I had not. And number two, she asked me, if I hadn't been sitting here right now and I saw that for you, do you think you would have ever been creeped out in the future if you had noticed this by yourself? And the answer is probably yes. So with that being said, now I have this weird personal connection with this movie, and I'll never let it go. And now it just makes it even more of a reason why I need to pick this up, or get it for Christmas or my birthday or whatever, spend some birthday money to pick it up, and add it to my collection with the other Fear Footage movies. Anyway, when it comes to Fear Footage 3 AM, I wanted to tell you all that little story stuff, and if I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I'm going to give it the same rating I gave the Part 1 film. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I like it. It's above average, certainly, for me. There are moments of it that really drag it down, but with some improvements, I really think this would have been as good as Fear Footage 2. I really do believe that. It has some really good moments and some really earned scares, like I said, but for the most part, it's kind of meandering, just a little bit, and that's fine if you have more to do, and it's not like you're waiting super long stretches of time, aside from that 20-minute segment I talked about. For an hour and 10-minute long movie, that ain't bad. It's really not bad. It's trying to build atmosphere, and I get it. But it is what it is. What did you guys think about Fear Footage 3 AM or the Fear Footage 3 AM? I always forget the in there. Anyway, did you guys love it? Did you hate it? What do you think about this movie? Is it your favorite of the trilogy? Have you even seen these movies? I'd love to hear what you have to say down in the comment section down below. And again, I hope we get more. Ricky, you don't have to bring us more, but if you're gonna, I will be there. God willing, like I said. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Tune in for the ranking video immediately after this. God bless you all. Goodbye.